Hello everyone, 5150 here. Thank you for tuning in. And welcome to another episode of 5150 Does Minecraft. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Thank you. Welcome to episode 6 of 5150 Does Minecraft. Now again, here's the system that we have built up so far. Today, as promised, we are going to start the process to get rid of these creative cells for powering the ME system and the inscribers here. What we're going to do is we're going to start looking at a mod called Big Reactors. These are the basic components of a big reactor. Now, these put out a lot of power for not much fuel. So I highly recommend them, and they're part of the Feed the Beast Infinity Pack. Now, you may notice that I don't exactly hold your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't exactly hold your hand and give you all the recipes and stuff, because there are so many people giving recipes. There are 500 places to find them. This series is primarily to show you some of the cool stuff that you can do. Personally, I like to set up servers. And when I set up a server, I like to add a couple of cool things for the players to find. In my opinion, it makes the game a lot more fun. Okay, so I'm now laying down the foundation or the base for my reactor. Now, I'm not going to force you to sit there and watch me do the whole thing, but I will check in periodically to show you the different parts of the reactor. Right now, I'm just building the frame, and I'll be back with you to show you what it looks like when it's finished. So this is what the frame looks like when it's complete. Next, I'll be installing the fuel rods. Now, the configuration that I'm setting up here is a configuration that I know works, and it's worked very well for me in the past. There are literally thousands of different configurations that you can use for one of these reactors. But as I said, this one works for me. Okay, so I want to stack the fuel rod just one short of the top of the frame. Now, this is going to consist of 5 fuel rods in this configuration. I'll come back when the fuel rods are finished being placed. So that's the fuel rods in place. Now we're going to cap them with reactor control rods. So each fuel rod gets a control rod. There. Okay. Now the next step is to put in the controls and the inputs and the outputs. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, my ME comes in here. So I want my input and my output to be there. Each reactor will need to input fuel and output waste material. Every reactor needs one and only one controller, and then it needs a way to get the power out. So these reactor power taps are what we're going to use for that. 3 of them will be more than adequate to draw the power out of this reactor. There, now all the controls are in place, the fuel rods, the control rods. So now what we're going to do is we're going to place the reactor glass. It's the last step, and I'm not going to force you to sit there and watch all of it happen, but this is what the reactor glass looks like. Now we use reactor glass in place of the reactor frame or the reactor casing just because it makes it so you can see inside. The two really are interchangeable except for the frame. The bottom, the corners, and the top frame all need to be this reactor casing. In all the other places you can use this reactor glass. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to force you to watch me do this whole thing, so I'll be back with you here shortly. Okay, this is the reactor glass completely installed, almost completely installed. I need to put the glass in at the top, and I need to put the glass in here at this opening to get in. The reason I've left this opening is we still need coolant. Now, there are two types of coolant that can be used, two basic types. One is a solid coolant, and then there are liquid coolants. The liquid coolants are a huge, hardcore pain in the butt to deal with. So I like to use a solid coolant, diamond. Okay, so we can use blocks of diamond. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in all of this interior space in the reactor with these diamond blocks, and they will give me the cooling that I need to run the reactor on a continual basis. They will also allow it to put out a good amount of power so that the reactor will actually be usable. So I'm not going to force you to sit here and watch me do all this boring stuff. This has got to be the most tedious part of building a reactor, is placing the coolant. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so now we have all of the coolant placed. The reactor is complete except for just a couple of pieces of glass. I need to fill in the glass at the top. Wrong button, me and my fat fingers. Okay, so I'm going to fill in the glass here at the top. There we go. Now we just fill in these two pieces here, and there you have it, a reactor. Now, both of these ports are set to input. I need one of them set to output, just like that. Okay, so now I need to connect input, the output, and the system. Now I need to come over here and get some fuel. To set the system. Okay, and then I'm going to speed up that input to make sure I can feed fuel quick enough. There we go. The fuel rods are full. Now all we have to do is light this thing off. However, there is one more thing we'll need to do before then. We need the power to go somewhere. For that, as I mentioned before, I like dimensional transceivers. So that's what we're going to use to get the power from the reactor to the other places I need it. Okay, now that one is set to send power. And we're going to come over here, replace these two creative cells with dimensional transceivers set to receive power. There we are. Okay. So now everything should be ready. Let's fire this thing up. Well, I'm creating heat. And I'm creating voltage. Okay, that is energized. That transceiver is energized. And so is that one. Okay, that looks like a rousing success. And that is how you build a big reactor from the Big Reactors mod. Now you can also do turbines from that mod, and we will get into that later in the series. But this is a reactor. We now have it powering our small system that we have here. Now stay tuned, because in our next episode, we're going to be starting some large-scale resource production. So tune in for that one. I'm sure you'll like it. Thank you for joining me. 5150 out.